Warmind Cells got a big nerf this season, and I haven't seen many Warmind Cells rolling around lately, so I thought it was about time to check it out and see how Warmind Cells perform in Season of the Lost. So guys, this is your new Titans Warmind Cell build in Season 15. We'll be pairing this with a bottom tree Sun Warrior solo ability build for the Titans to make this build as effective as possible. But before we do, be sure to check out my sponsor below for cheap and reliable Destiny 2 silver, and use my discount code DIVIDE when checking out. And now guys, without further delay, rate, comment, sub, share, intro. Okay, now I'm not feeling too great as of making this video. Got a bit of a cold coming along or something, so just excuse me if I am sounding a little off. But what this build basically does is create Warmind Cells that effectively clear ads in a room, which did have a nerf this season, so it's not as effective as it once was. But for those who do want to use them again, this is the build I have for you, which isn't perfect for endgame, but more of a fun build to use in all types of low tier content. But on top of Warmind Cells, you will be burning and exploding enemies with your abilities that also have a faster regeneration, whilst also gaining health on those ability kills too. Now if this doesn't sound like the build for you, then be sure to check out that playlist for other fun and top best builds to use in Destiny 2. But if this is the build you think you might like, then let's move on to setting it up. But before we do, here's a quick overview of how you'd use this build. First, run into your enemy and use your ability on them. Once they die, this will spawn a Sunspot. Stand in or pass through that Sunspot to gain the Sun Warrior buff. This gives you faster ability regeneration. Keep getting kills with your solo abilities and weapons that generate Warmind Cells to spawn Warmind Cells, and then shoot them to help you ad clear. In easy content, you can roam around infinitely spawning Warmind Cells and spamming abilities fast, but in harder content it may be slightly harder to achieve. So starting with the loadout, what you're going to want here is a weapon to help generate Warmind Cells. Ikelos Weapons do the job perfectly, so you can use something like an Ikelos SMG, but if you don't have any of these, then any weapon that can effectively explode ads with solar splash damage will do the trick. This could be weapons like 1000 Voices or Xenophage in the heavy slot, Tiku's Divination, any weapon that has a Firefly or Dragonfly perk, or even weapons like a Sunshot that come with explosive rounds. But you will also have your subclass that will help you generate Warmind Cells, as your abilities will burn and explode ads with solar splash damage. But speaking of that subclass, we are going to be going with the bottom tree Sunbreaker, and this does come with unique subclass perks where solo ability kills restore your health and abilities, whilst also leaving a Sunspot in their wake that does burn them, and that Sunspot will cause your abilities to recharge faster and super to last longer, as well as giving you increased weapon damage, essentially making it like a Warlock's Empowering Rift. And the exotic we will be using with this will be the Phoenix Cradle. This allows Sun Warrior to last twice as long, from 5 seconds to 10, and allies that pass through that Sunspot will also get the Sun Warrior buff. Not an awful exotic, but definitely worth using if you are going to use the bottom tree solo subclass. Moving on to the main mods, the very first thing you're going to want is Wrath of Rasputin. This is to generate Warmind Cells on solar splash damage final blows, things like solar abilities, your solar explosive weapons, and all that sort of stuff. Next up we have Global Reach, so that our Warmind Cells affect and damage targets at a greater distance. Not as good as it once was, but you definitely want this on a Warmind Cell build. But the third mod you want is optional. This is Warmind's Protection. This will allow you to take reduced damage from enemies near our Warmind Cells we make, but then we also have Burning Cells to cause enemies to burn when destroying a Warmind Cell, so if the blast doesn't kill them, then the burn should. But the last mod is Rage of the Warmind, and this is a costly one at 5 energy, but it adds additional solar damage to the explosions of Warmind Cells we destroy. Now those are the main mods that you'll want, and the next set of regular mods are down to your preference, but going over them for the helmet, I'd use your Ammo Finder mod for your heavy weapon, but you can use mods like Ashes to Assets to get you super faster on grenade kills. Then for the gauntlets I have my champion mods if you're going into things like a Nightfall, but again you can swap these to ability cooldown mods like Impact Induction. For the chest we have Concussive Dampener to resist incoming area of effect damage, as well as our Ammo Reserve mod for our main weapon. But for the legs we have our Scavenger mod, and then lastly for the class we have Thermoclastic Strike, so that our solar melee can stun overloads, and Withering Heat to go with this, so that our solar abilities will weaken them. But of course you'd only use these mods when you do have champions roaming about. But for those stats, I'd max out Discipline for that faster grenade cooldown. Now overall this build isn't the best in Destiny 2, but it is definitely a fun one to play around with when you're farming easier content like Strikes or Gambit, and just want to have a little change rather than using the same builds all the time. For me, I'm probably not going to use this build for a while, unless they really buff Warmind Cells again. but it is a build to use if you don't have other build choices. But guys, that is your quick Titans Warmind solo build in Destiny 2 Season of the Lost. Next you should check out the playlist for more top best builds and fun builds to use in Destiny 2 2021 this season, and definitely give this one a try and comment down below what you currently think of Warmind Cells. And as always, I'll catch you all very soon for the next video.